Aloha. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Uh, Today is the 18th of April, 2022. I was scheduled to teach a class on a global platform today. It is the day after Easter Sunday, and some of you are celebrating Passover. There's other festivals in the world, so the university decided to reschedule. However, I did not get that memo. I was all set up to teach today. I was up late preparing content, trying to get a curriculum for this coursework, which is holistic medicine theory and herbal remedies. And as I was writing my outline, I tried to stick to an outline, which sort of turned into the beginning phases of a book. And it seems a book I've been writing for like 10 years or something. So life and life circumstances have prevented me from completing this. So today seems like a good day to write. I have a lot of time these days. I did not have the same amount of time when I was in Hawaii. I was attempting to create a wellness center, permaculture, very small farm, more of an eco tour, healing center in the rainforest on the active volcano, which was an adventure in all of its own. I was in Hawaii for 25 years. I recently moved to the Midwest. The coursework I am working on is holistic medicine theory. And the reason I want to get into the theory of holistic, and I want to touch on some of that because I had prepared to teach today. And so since I'm dressed, since I have the equipment set up, the equipment's working, which is awesome, I wanted to go ahead and share with you a little bit. So holistic actually means whole person, whole as in WHOLE, your body, mind, soul, and spirit. And I wanted to get into that a little bit, what exactly that means, how we actually define all of that, what our current paradigm is, and how it affects the way that we approach health or wellness. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to yawn. I was up really late preparing content, and then after that, I couldn't sleep. And then I woke up early to teach, and then I found out I wasn't teaching. So I didn't want to put all that energy to waste. And I thought I would try to get some information here for you. So why do we look at paradigm? This is interesting. So some of my graduate work was on mind and mind theory, and I am finishing in hypnotherapy. But language is interesting, mind is interesting. We have a lifetime of experiences. We have memory, we have perceived memory, we have actual historic events. We create a structure in our mind that becomes a filter with which we take in information, process information, and come to an idea about the world based on the historical evidence, the perceived historical, and the world around us. And all of these variables then give us perspective. Now, our worldview is deeply shaped by our philosophy, not just our personal philosophy, but the philosophical views that our culture places on us. So you probably hear the word construct. It's kind of a term that is being used in popular culture currently. There's a lot of debate about construct, but the idea of construct or concept comes, I believe, originally from feminist theory, which is not feminism. It is a theoretical idea in philosophy. And so philosophy shapes our ideas. Philosophy creates our theses. Uh, Science stems from a thesis. So we gain ideas from we have ideas. We try to prove ideas in the scientific method or through the scientific method. And these ideas sometimes are assumed by our concept of nature and our view of the external world. But again, oftentimes there are assumptions that are made. And so this is why science tries desperately to uh, accumulate empirical evidence, uh, tangible evidence that can be proven in order to validate these theories or these theses. Okay, so where does that come in to play as far as our perception of self, our perception of wellness, our perception of biology, our perception of the entire world around us? It has great emphasis. If our paradigm or worldview is incorrect, then that means that everything that stems from that is then brought into question. So why is that important? Well, there's a lot of money involved in medicine. There's a lot of money involved in science. There's entire lives that have been devoted to this. Perception of self, ego, all of these that have been based on maybe theories or ideas that have been created from a limited scope. Okay, so we are limited by the ideas that have been passed on and perpetuated, and those ideas that have been proven empirically. However, science can be quite biased. Research methods try desperately to test and retest, and you've heard of double-blind placebo tests in medicine to try to eliminate bias, to try and eliminate placebo effect. Placebo effect being mind effect. Mind is exceedingly powerful. Everything that happens in our being, brain and mind are separate. Brain is biology. Mind is ideas, thoughts, perceptions, so concepts. So neuroscientists may try to break that down to biological function, purely biological function, electrical impulses through neurons, neurotransmitters, which are chemical information, chemicals that carry information, and that's how the central nervous system communicates with the rest of the body. Mind being unconscious, subconscious, and conscious mind. So when we look at the framework within which we place our reality, we have to try to stretch beyond the limits of that. So our current medical model and paradigm is a mechanistic model that really originated from Descartes. Even further back, if we look at Platonic ideas, Plato really distinguished soul from body. That has been embraced into Christian theology, which is the predominant theology that shaped the Western world. So that is a dominant type of thinking that created the Western mindset and then was taken further with Descartes in the 1600s, separating mind from body. That's the original separation of mind and body. Looking at the world as a mechanistic model, looking at nature as mechanistic, looking at body as a machine, and mind as something else. Mind maybe being soul. I think, therefore I am. Descartes. Thinking, the thinking mind. We know more about the brain. The brain is biology. It's extremely complex. And so we go down through history. So our science is based on a mechanistic model that disregarded a lot of the unseen, which now we have instruments to measure lots of these microscopic, submicroscopic, atomic, subatomic realities that we didn't see when a lot of these theories, premises, ideas that science tries to prove were being put into play. And so science is ever evolving and ever changing based on the systems of measurement. So science is only as good as the theory and the system of measurement. And as these systems of measurement become more effective and more complex and are able to measure other realities, our perception shifts and changes with it. So in a sense, it's nebulous and it's evolving. There is a material world. We are part of the material world. And anyone who has had any science background or training knows that the material world is made of energy. And its purest sense, it's molecular energetics, right? Sound, light. Our physical being is made up of cells, but beyond that is molecules, is energy. Pre-Platonic thought was much more similar to Eastern thought. When I say Eastern thought, I mean like Taoism, or if we get into the Vedas, Ayurveda is a form of Indian medicine, which is more than 5,000 years old, is considered to be the mother of medicine or modern medicine. And these forms of medicine, which are really just as valid as our Western forms of medicine, but haven't been pushed into the forefront as much for actually monetary reasons. Let's just be honest. Our system is profit-based. The Western world is capitalist. There's not a lot of money in preventative care or self-management of care. Medicine has become a monopoly. Very few elite are allowed to practice medicine, and therefore simple things like growing herbs in your garden and making teas and taking warm baths and meditation were put into the background, right? So I will be talking a little bit about the Tao. I will talk a little bit about the Vedas, energetic principles. And again, in even Western philosophy, Greek philosophy, prior to Plato, there was more of this sense of the Tao. And Tao, when I say Taoism, the Tao is this idea that there's an energetic force that permeates all things and that we are part of this Tao. We are part of this energy, and this energy is an interplay between the male and the female aspects of energy, okay? masculine being yang, feminine being yin, and the balance is between the two. In this point of balance, that's where we find perfection of existence. So that's where we find health. That's where we find vitality. That's where we find everything is in this place of balance. So this pendulum swings back and forth from masculine to feminine, meaning these energies. And even if we look into languages, we see this, like in Latin languages, there's emphasis on what's masculine and what's feminine, right? English is a language of business. It's about making money. So language shapes our reality. Language can become limiting, right? That's why universal language is mathematics. Universal language is art, archetypes, communication through pictures, right? It's universally understood in most cultures. Some symbols and ideas in art have different meanings for different cultures. So it's not 100%, but generally there is a feeling or a mood that people get from certain images, which is why it has a more universal application than the spoken word. Language is an aspect of our filter. Everything comes through our language, which is why sometimes when you speak with people who have a different language than you do, they will say things like, there's just no translation. There's no translation because it's cultural based. Language is restricted to culture, to time and to place, to history. Many of these words developed at a certain time or place in history. And if you're not part of the culture, it's very difficult to translate because it's so imbued and embedded in the culture that it's very difficult to understand unless you're part of that culture. So that's a lot of information. I think I'll stop here. We're going into almost 20 minutes. This is for YouTube. The course is an hour long, so I will go into more of that in the class. I wanted to leave you with this little bit of information to think about. Just remember, our ideas and concepts of the material world originated in the 1600s, and we have evolved and changed. And keep in mind that our medicine in the West is profit-based. So that's going to influence what happens with it. And I will talk more about that in another video. Have a wonderful day. Happy holidays. I am so happy to be back. I hope that I can share my information and knowledge with you. I hope it's beneficial. I look forward to seeing you soon. Aloha. Namaste. Have a wonderful day.